We hope that peace will come swiftly, but that is in the hands of others. And we must be prepared for a long, continued conflict.
Well, it's great the content you produce like really spurs on patriotism and really giving it a great light.
I think truth in history spurs on patriotism. Yeah. It's the non-truth that destroys patriotism. I mean, you look at the core of this, and we have a great country, an incredible country, and the military. You know, no reporter ever guaranteed your free speech. Remember that. Soldiers guarantee your free speech.
Yeah. Now you go around also teaching.
I do. Media. I teach media. My love of media, and I've had it since I was two things. Well, when I was younger, and I was like 13 some years old, and trying to figure what I was going to do, I had decided I was either going to be a priest or a director and a producer, and that sounds absolutely insane, but it's purely logic because look, both deal with the public. Both are teachers in a way, right? So I actually went to the seminary for a very short period of time. Yes, I was there, and God quickly made it clear to me that I was in the wrong place. But I certainly admired the people who were there, and I went back and I came into school and went into my career. But I just think that it's such an important role that history plays and our industry plays in informing and motivating that, but it has to be accurate.
Yeah. Well, those two things you're creating powerful messages, just like a pastor.
And you know, there's a interesting thing too. I have learned throughout my years that there's not a single aspect of our society, not one single aspect of not only American society, but the world as a whole, that isn't directly affected by media.
Yeah.
And I also see the bias in media. So I wrote a book called Mastering the Art of Media Messaging. And it tells exactly how media works. It tells you also how to make media work for you so that if you want to get your story out there or your product or whatever it may be, that you know the steps to take so that your story is told accurately. Yeah. And that's kind of what I put in there. But I want to go back to what you said about movie making itself. In the show Vietnam in HD, we were just talking about this sergeant, after the show aired, many months on History Channel, and you know they air it many times, but months later, 6 months later, I get an email, a long email from a professor in Brazil. This is true. Professor in Brazil. And he said, and how he got me, I don't even know why I was one of a cadre of producers and directors. I mean, that show was a year and a half in the making, you know. So I don't know how he singled me out, but I was glad he did. And he went to my website and he found me and he wrote me through my website. So I get this email from this guy. He served in Vietnam, and he said, in a nutshell, he said, my students brought me your series, and again, clarify for everybody, it's not my series. I wrote it for the history for Rita Productions, and Les Rev and all the people that worked did a great job on it. I was just one of the cadre. But he said, my students brought me this series. He says, I served in Vietnam and I never talked about it. And he said, your program, Vietnam in HD, for the first time in my life, told the true story of Vietnam. And thank you for that.
Wow.
I took that, I wrote him back and I said, I thanked him for, and I took that and I sent it to every member of the crew, to the network, to the production company. And I said, this is the impact of your dedication and your work.
Yeah.
It's
that's
something.
awesome.
It really is. It's not me. Please understand, I'm the first one to tell you, it's not me. It's just that it's such a powerful medium and to have the story told. The New York Times, when Vietnam came out, the first show, Vietnam in HD, came out, the New York Times headline for reviewing it said, the History Channel has done what the U.S. government failed to do, explain Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
And again, thanks to the writers involved and everybody else. But it's very nice to be a part of that shadow of saying, yeah, I had a little something to do with that.
Yeah, exactly. You're creating great content. You're a part of great content, so that's awesome.
Well, the new ones coming up are great too. This one called Brothers in War, with Charlie Sheen does a terrific job in narrating, which is a story in itself, but does a great job in narrating. talks, again, uses real people in Vietnam to tell how they lived through these battles and stuff, and the people and the stories and how it changed their lives. Very powerful. And then Against the Odds is the same way. You can't help but watch these shows. Ordinary people, just ordinary people, called on to do extraordinary things, and then going back to being ordinary people.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to see it.
Well, I'm hoping you do.
Thanks so much for talking with us.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Now to find more content, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.